Okay, it looks like I have managed to go live. Let me just check on the rest of the system what's going on.
It's like I have managed to go live.
Excellent. Sorry about the start of that with my sound in there. I just needed to know that the sound was working because there were problems when I logged on to StreamYard. It said there might be problems with audio and recording. So I don't know if it's recording. I can see someone else has joined me. So let's see where we are here. Someone has shared already, and that wasn't me, but that's, let me flip back onto there. Let me just see if I can share it. Here is my live for tonight. Excellent. My craft room is freezing. What's doing on there? So it's appearing on StreamYard, but nothing appearing on the Pentart Facebook page. So this might be an interesting activity. So we'll just go with it tonight, I think. Hello, Marino. Welcome, my darling. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you. Yes, I had a wonderful time. Good evening, Elizabeth. And hello, Edico. And good evening, Stephanie. So there we are. Let me just clear some of this out of the way and put it somewhere safe so I don't lose any of this little lot, because we'll be needing all of these later on. It's always cool, isn't it? There we are. Let's just put that pile neatly over there, and let's move that in. And let's see if I can. There we are. Let's just move that down there. That is better. Let's take those over there, and hopefully we'll have less glare. So I'm really not sure what's happening with Facebook, because I can't see live comments appearing, although I can certainly see them on StreamYard. So I'm assuming that all is well in the world. So I've returned from a wonderful holiday, sailing from Prague to Paris along the Main, Moselle and the Rhine. So I've had a wonderful, wonderful trip, and come back fully inspired. So we're going to have a good evening, and we're going to make Santa's Grotto. So this is just a wooden chopping board, and I've just sprayed some cleaner on it. The chopping board came from a cheap UK store, and there are lots of seasonal shaped boards around at the moment. And yes, it's got some detail on it, and I'm going to paint over it, though I could have chosen to use the back. It's not actually going to matter. You can see how much extra rubbish is coming off the top of this, because of course, as it's designed as a charcuterie board rather than a decorative element, it will have been at least oiled, if nothing else. So let's just give this a jolly good wipe, and I'm just using the stencil cleaner. Alcohol would work. I want to degreaser, de-oiler, and just to remove any of the surface rubbish off the top. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Connie. Yeah, I'm still not getting comments on Facebook. Let's see if that will work itself through. That's better now. It's clicked in. Now I can see what's going on. Technology and me are not the most favourite of activities, as we all know. So let's see if we can get rid of most of the surface rubbish off here and go from there. So who else has joined us? Connie has. That's lovely. I've no idea, Stephanie, about the live streaming to TV, because it may be that it's because it's through StreamYard, not through directly to Facebook. But who knows in this world? Right, let's give that a wee bit of a little dry, because it's now wet. There we are. Hi, Isabel. Welcome, welcome. Good evening, Sheila. Hello, Isabella. Let's just give the surface a dry. Always helpful. We'll get this less tacky. Give it a good dry. And then we can start with what we're doing. There we are. So it's important when you're layering but you start out with a nice clean surface. So that's what we're doing. Hopefully that's all the rubbish off there, and we will have fun. Please feel free to share the live wherever you would like to share it, and get as many people involved as is possible, because that's all fun. And it helps spread the word and the information about products and the company, and also you know, the joy of the season, and also the you know, hopefully inspiration. So normally I'm intending using some crackle medium, and I've chosen the one component crackle this evening, and normally I would paint a layer underneath, let that dry, then put the crackle medium on, let that dry, and then add another layer of crackle over the top. And let me just swap that, because you really don't need to see me at that size. That's better. Good evening, Joan. So I'm choosing to do this slightly differently, because I already have colour here, and I'm quite like the natural colour, and I don't see the point in painting it brown when it's already brown, and the crackle will work because it's the crackle, this medium that covers the crackle. Anyway, so this is the one component crackle medium that I'm using this evening. So let me just pop this all onto here on the top. We don't want it going down the sides, just need a layer. Can go in any which direction, doesn't really matter. I'm not worried about directionality of crackles. We don't need a huge thick layer, but we'll get whatever crackle we get, and that's just cool because it's a random crackle effect anyway. It doesn't really matter otherwise. And I can see some areas are perhaps not grease free because this is beading a little bit, but that's okay. I'll live with that. I'm certainly not going to strip everything off to reapply it. We'll have some areas that crackle and some that don't, and that is just cool. There we are. I don't think we'll be online for ages tonight, because I guess I do have my normal resin pieces to prep, but there we are. So that is the one component crackle onto there, and we're just going to tuck that onto the floor in front of my fan heater, because it's freezing in the craft room. So I've got my fan heater on to keep me warm, and that can go there, and we will begin creating our Santa's Grotto. So these come from Stamperia molds, soft molds, and the silicon letters mold, and the knobs and knockers mold. Knobs and knockers, what a thing to say, hey ho, but it isn't intended to be in any way a rude thing. So these are the pieces we're going to use tonight. Let me just pop that up there. So we've got our beautiful rocking horse, a teddy bear, our sitting Santa, and our letters. So let's see what we're going to do. I'm choosing to work with the normal matte acrylics and some chalky acrylics today. Let me clean. Let's go with the red first. So this is lipstick red, okay, but a nice Santa, traditional colour Santa red is the plan. Let's just pop some of that onto there and pick up a reasonable size paintbrush. There we are. We'll go with that one. No, we won't. We'll go for a nice little one. And then I'm going to pull my seat up and I'm going to sit myself down. I know, sit down. What am I thinking of? But there we are. Cool. So I trust that everyone is well and that their plans for Christmas are nicely underway. So let's just, I'm using my finger to steady what I'm doing. There we are. We'll have a nice red Santa. You could, I guess you paint this red and then add some of the red velvet powder. I'm not intending doing that tonight because it will just add another layer and take a little bit extra time, which is fine, but I don't really want to keep everyone on the live stream for a silly amount of time, particularly when I know that there are lots of live starting at 7 that some of you might wish to be going and looking at. Hi Barbara, welcome my darling. Thank you very much for joining us. So anyway, so yeah, the starting point for my mate was very definitely the wooden chopping board. I thought that looked quite nice, and that would work for there we are. Let's just add. No, we won't have that there. Right, now the little bit of trauma will be. Let's just into here. There we are. So we have to get in between the bath and the chair, but that's okay. We can do that because we can neaten this up afterwards. Because we're going to be painting the brown areas of the chair in anyway. There we are. That will work. So I trust that everyone is. Yeah, I know there's just too many lives going on, Joan, and I'm live for Crafting Together with All Brands on Friday at Charmaine's request. It's just difficult, isn't it, to try and do everything for everyone. All we can do is support as many companies as we possibly can, because in a world of trauma and change, that's all we can possibly help, is to be nice to each other and to do what's right for everyone. There we are. Now then, I think that's probably the bottom of the coat. Is that layer? So let me just add another layer of that into here, because that's the end of that. So yes, let's just add in the coat bottom into there. Could do that in white, but I'm as if it's edged, but we'll see how I feel. I might repaint over that. There we are. So that I've chosen that lipstick red just because it's such a nice vibrant colour, and I wanted a very, well, it's a shade that was predominant around the European Christmas markets that I visited. Was this nice bright clean red rather than an antique colour, along with of course lots of wood made decorations and some straw ones. But there we are. There we are. So let's just carry on and let's just cover these. We'll do as much as we can with the red before we pick up another colour, because, well, what else are you meant to do? Just makes more sense, doesn't it? Because I may well have to. Red is one of those colours that sometimes does not cover brilliantly well with one coat. The opacity is not always brilliant. This actually looks to be covering reasonably well this evening, but so there's lots of filigree detail on this numbers mould, and they're a really nice size. So they'll make a statement feature on the wooden house when it's all comes together, or that's the plan. So my concept is that we have Santa in his house on a rocking chair, surrounded by some of his presents. We might have a Christmas mouse instead of an elf, but I'll see how I feel about that as we put the composition of everything else together. And I think I might have made a mistake by not getting a green out, but that's okay. There's a piece missing. There is a piece missing. I had. Now, where's that gone? Because that means it's also not prepped. Well, that's clever. Okay. Let me just grab it because I can see exactly where it is. And I just need to put some, there we are, some gesso onto that and give it a good blast. Because, there we are. So life has been a little bit chaotic, as ever. When you come back from a holiday, you find that there's a whole mountain of mail that needs answering. And one of them required me to respond by the 10th. So that had to be done today. And it took a little bit of sorting out. It's nothing like UK bureaucracy. Well, I'm pleased to say the Office of the Guardian actually was very efficient today. It's sorting out the problem, albeit the one that they had created, by not sending out the fourth piece of unique identifier number that I needed. But hey ho, you know, that's just life, isn't it? There we are. Let's just give this a good, and then we'll see. So these pieces have all been cast in the white rapid resin and then given a coat of gesso. And as we haven't gessoed that because it got left on the side, let me just do that and give it a blast dry. Yes, Elizabeth, it is the numbers are from a Stamperia mold. So let's just give this a coat of white gesso. And I'm deliberately using gesso because bonding primer would take 24 hours to dry and properly, and ideally would need 2 coats. There we are. So if I use the primer paste, it will provide a surface that will key for my paints, but also doesn't require to be left to dry for 24 hours. Yeah, I don't know if I think it came from Gear Up to Christmas. It might not have done, but it's definitely a Stamperia mold, and it has all of the numbers 0 to 9, and they are all a really good size. And it also has a line of very simple numbers that are approximately maybe an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch high, rather than anything else. So let me just give these a wee little blast dry. And I'll paint my other the other number. Let's say I'm deliberately I've also decided to keep this to a relatively limited colour palette, but I will pick up a green in a minute because I can see that it's going to look. Oh, there we are. The pieces of the covering of my brush falling off. That always adds to the fun of life. But a green might well help when it comes to the brush, to the suitcases. So we could go red and brown. Maybe. I think we'll have a green suitcase in the middle of it. There we are. I can grab a green paint really easily. That will not be a problem to do. Just give these a nice coat of paint, and as I say, hopefully we won't need to add a second layer to these, but who knows. As I say, red does not always dry super opaque. So I trust that everyone is otherwise well, that you had a good week, you enjoyed the lives that Pentart organised for last week. I know that there were 3 of them. I did catch up with part of one of them, Annie's. I always learn something from Annie's lives. She, I think, has a floristry background, but is a uber talented crafter and always does something that involves lots of natural or faux natural elements, if that's not a contradiction of terms. But there we are. We'll take the pieces that we can. There we are. And decorate these bit by bit by bit. There we are. Be quite a lot of red on this, but that's okay. We can cope with that. There we are. Hopefully that's all covered. So let's see what we want. We'll have a red bow. Right, so let's, that still definitely needs another bit of a dry. So let me just give this a little blast with a heat gun. Hi Sue, yes, thank you very much. I had a lovely holiday. Yeah. Let's give this a dry. So as I say, this is the white rapid resin, and it has been coated with the Pentacolor primer paste, aka gesso, to give it a better key for painting. Let's just give this a little bit of a glide. I would pre-gesso the other pieces anyway, so that can sit there. That can sit there. Let us now take some of this and oops, she says. So let us have a nice brown wooden chair. Okay, let's unhook that. There we are. Put that into there. I wouldn't, if someone could tag Sarah Marchant for me, because she's normally watching, bless her. I don't know, with me being not on for a bit, whether that's confused the situation. So that's, I don't like that monkey brush. Let's see if we can find a nice, it's possibly too big. Let's just go for that one that's nice and small. And then let's just take some of this nice chocolatey brown for our wooden part of our wooden rocking chair. Yeah. And we've got a nice cushion on it, which we might do in a much paler colour, just so that it looks different. So I'm just going to paint the sides of there. So it's easy if you pick a brush that's a good size relative to what you're doing. It gives you a nice finish. There we are, nice edge into there. And of course, antiquing gels and umbra will help to cover a multitude of sins long term. So there we are. Let's just do the runner, the arm of our rocking chair. There we are. There we are. I'm debating whether to put some more red into that piece, but actually I think it's should be the cushion at the back rather than anything else. So there we are. Let's just pop that into there. Let's just turn that round. If you turn your pieces so that the piece that you're working on is easy to see, and it will make your life a lot easier when it comes to painting, because you can actually see where your brush is, and a nice neat brush also, rather than lots of splayed ends, as I often work with. I know, again, will make life easier for you. There we are. So let's just do this slowly, carefully. No point in being completely slap happy. There are times when you can be quicker, and times when it definitely pays just to take that little bit of extra time to do things. And I've probably overcast this. And one of the headaches, of course, with the Stamperia plastic molds is that they're not all at the same depth, and that can be a bit of a pain on occasions. But we will resolve that issue later on. I think we're just going to have a solid piece down there and tackle that bit into there, make as though it's a wooden panel that we can see through from the other side at a slight angle. There we are. So this mould has a lot of detail, as is fairly typical of the Stamperia moulds. They're managing to produce moulds at a realistic reasonable price, and maintain the detail because they're plastic. Now the downside of that is that they won't have the longevity of a silicone mould, but the upside is that they allow you to have bigger pieces to play with, and they keep the price reasonable. So let's just manage to deal with this. And we'll give the seat of the chair a nice coat of brown paint, because that's what's needed, isn't it? There we are. And then painting the detail of the runners and the rocker in a minute. There we are. Okay, so let's paint in this leg. That piece in the bottom will be dealt with with a little bit of antiquing gel, and also the background colour that I'm using on the wood will make it look like it's just seeing through. Well, that's the plan anyway. The alternative is to take a drill and remove those bits, or pour your resin a little bit more carefully maybe. But I prepped this actually before I went on my holiday, because I knew that I was going to have a limited amount of time when I came back, and I needed to give Pentacolor the title well before I left. So that's, but it's also good to see how you can work around things if you need to. There we are. So I trust that everyone is okay. Let me see who else has joined us. Hi, Liz has joined us this evening, and so has Juliana. Welcome, welcome. And I trust that all is well in Greece, and that everyone is okay. And that, did Greece celebrate their Christmas on the 6th of December? I know some parts of Europe do. I learnt that on my travels. I know the Germans tend to have Christmas on the 6th of December. Here we are. There we are. Well, if you... Hello, Josephine. Welcome, my darling. I love StreamYard. It tells me what people are saying, but I always have to have my phone also on, because I've got that set to auto translate, so that I can understand what is being said in the comments for those of you who don't speak English, because it's not your native tongue, but it allows me to at least understand what you've said and hopefully answer any questions that you might have. So there we are. So what is everyone up to for Christmas? Have we all sorted out what our Christmas menus are going to be? Because while I'm painting this, it's more of the same. It won't all be more of the same. It has to be added, but you know, for the moment, we've got this to paint and dry. I know for our family, we've decided that we'll have homemade French onion soup for lunch at lunchtime on Christmas Day, because when the children were young, my husband and I decided there was no point in trying to make children full of chocolates and goodies from opening their presents early on Christmas morning, trying to get them to eat a Christmas dinner. So we have a light lunch, a leisurely afternoon, and then we have our main meal in the evening. So I asked the kids, who are adult now, I hasten to add, what they wanted for Christmas dinner, and their happy response was, that'll be duck or goose. So we, depending on what is available in the shops, we will have duck or goose. And then all of the assorted trimmings that go with those, which will be rather lovely. And we probably won't even bother with a pudding unless it's a trifle, because usually we've eaten so much we don't actually need a pudding. But there is a Christmas pudding in the house, one with cherries and chocolate. So hopefully that will be nice for those people who don't want a traditional Christmas pudding. There we are. And I can see some areas that I just need to top up that red paint. There we are. So let's just do that. Eeny, meeny, miny. Have we got most of that? probably we have. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So let's just pop that in there. Give that a little bit of a wash. Oops, she says. Having for there. And let's ask. Well, I think I'm actually we're going to use a hazelnut coloured suitcase and some a hazelnut coloured bear. I think there we are. So it's a yucky mucky. Oops, she says, slopping paint every which way. Turkey and trimmings for you, Sheila. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Salty walnut leeks, mushrooms, and cheese sauce. Yum, yum, yum. There we are. So let's just paint in our suitcase. Let's be very liberal and ignore all the details and just paint over them for the time being, and then we'll enhance them with some things. I know that there are straps on here that I could paint all in separately, but let's just paint this base layer in, ignoring all the straps and things. Otherwise we might be here at tea time tomorrow, and then we can add in some colour once the base layer is dry. Just, I think, there we are. We'll convert the handles into a brown at some stage and the locks into black with gold. It's the joy, isn't it? Because your imagination really is the limit here, isn't it, rather than anything else. And what's not to say that the straps on the things weren't all colour coordinated in beautiful leather to match the colour of the suitcase. There we are. Could be anything you want. There we are. On the challenge piece, I did painted them all in separately. So if you want the challenge piece of Penta, has an alternative colour stream for doing these. But there we are. Definitely gonna go and pick up a green in a minute. I think I might, for the present, we might have that in a green rather than brown. There we are. So these pieces don't take a silly amount of time to decorate. Obviously, you could spend an awful lot of time painting them with a much smaller brush if that suits what you're doing and you've got the time to do it. There we are. Okay. Let's just give that a little bit of a brush. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So, Katerina, what would be the traditional meal in Greece? So let us, we got this, and then we're going to have an ivory coloured horse, and then we'll add in our mane in the hazelnut, I think. There we are. Let's put a bit of that over there. So this is a chalky paint, has a bit more tooth. I've chosen to work with it just because it's the colour I want more than anything else. She says knocking stuff flying. So let's just clean these so we don't contaminate our paints too much. And then we can. That can go over there, that can go over there, that can go over there. Lovely. So let's just paint our horse. We might mix in some other colours into the horse to give him a slightly darker. I don't necessarily want the red. So be it. That will just give it a little bit more colour. Get a base layer onto here. We can paint that later on. We might just mix in for the tail a little bit of extra colour. You see me colour blending on my pieces many, many times. There we are. It just adds a little bit of colour variation. a little bit of shade to the pieces, so it'd be a bit darker underneath, wouldn't it? There we are. There we are. So we've got some colour there. Let's just turn that round. Let's pick up that nice ivory again. There we are. We've got 2 feet there to pick up. There we are. Let's just add some darkness into here. It's underneath and behind, so that would make sense, wouldn't it, for that to appear to be a little bit darker. And we'll pick up some of the darker brown for the hoof in a minute. I hope that didn't flash for you. My screen's just gone whoop at me. There we are. There we are. And I will add in I'm going to add in some details onto here anyway with some wax. So that's okay. There we are. Let's just cover that. And let's just pick up some of that hazelnutty brown and add that into the mane. There we are. Soften it down. Mix the colours. There we are. And we've got that and that and that. So let us now have a think about what we're wanting here. Let's just clear that and blend those colours in a little bit better than they actually are. And we need some more brown for the base. Stuffed turkey and other Greek dishes. What do you stuff your turkey with, Katerina? In the UK, it would be sage and onion stuffing. I suspect that's not your choice. Though I wait to be proven wrong. There we are. Let's just paint the rockers on here. And all I'm doing while I'm painting these is waiting for my crackle medium to dry on the board that I'm using. I think we might have to find some black for those little hooves, or to darken this brown with a little bit of black for the hooves. But that's fine, because that's sitting on the side ready to go, because I thought I might need him for the hats. There we are. There we are. So hopefully, just that I think you just can't do everything without taking a degree of time, because, well, life's too short, isn't it? So let's just do the knocker that I'm just using as a decorative element. I don't want this to be very complicated, and I certainly have kept the colour elements to as simple as possible, partly to show that you don't need to have 55,000 colours, albeit I will use a good number. You really don't have to have every colour in the colour palette, because you just never use them before they went dry in the pots. So that doesn't make sense. So make do with a section of the basics, and then your colours that you go back to time and time and time again. Colours that you like is always a good start, rather than colours that you think you should have it. Because if you only buy something because you think you should have it, it might get used once or twice, but colours that you like will be picked up and used time and time and time again, and that's altogether more sensible. There we are. Let's just repaint that bit that I've had my little mitts on. I'm going to let that horse dry a little bit more before I add the black into it. So what do I want to do? I want some compact powder. So compact powder is a skin colour, as you might imagine. There we are. It's a very, very this mincemeat with chestnut and rice. Ooh, we do have a chestnut stuffing, but in the UK, but it's definitely not one that is mixed with rice. That sounds lovely. I might have to have a little Google of that recipe. I'm just tucking in some bits that I can see here I've missed now that the red paint is drying, and that will help make it look better. And I will be coming back to those. So let's just pick up our Father Christmas. I'm going to pick that ivory up, and I'm going to paint the newspaper he's holding with the ivory, because that seems like a sensible colour to choose for the newspaper. This does say Christmas in the in that detailing on the top of there. And what colour cushion shall we have? I think we might paint the cushion at the back also in ivory, just for ease. There we are. I think that you might find that your thoughts are very familiar to lots of people, I think, who prefer the stuffing and the accompaniments to the actual reality of life. Excellent. So that's that. Let's pick up that. And let's paint in the face with the compact powder. There is a beautiful eye there. We'll have that. We'll worry about putting those details back in. And let's have the nose in the pink shade. That will help with that. Excellent. And let's just do the hands, because they definitely inside would not be gloved. There we are. We're getting there, aren't we? There we are. I don't know. Shall I do? Actually, I think I'm going to do the cushion in that pinky colour as well. I think it's going to work quite nicely and just be a little bit better colour for a cushion than the ivory. But you could do it any colour that you wanted, really. It wouldn't necessarily have to be. Oops, there we are. We'll pick up the correct colour there. There we are. That will work. That will work. Cool. Right. Before I put my elbows in that piece, pork with plums. Yummy, yummy. Sounds very lovely. Yeah, let me just go and grab a green. Or do you definitely think I want a green? Can I find a nice khaki green will work? There we are. There we are. So much for me not wanting to be here for ages tonight, ladies. We might be here, or we will. Maybe I shouldn't have sat down to paint. She says famous last words. There we are. We are getting there. It's always a challenge to do makes in an hour. Okay, let us just paint in our present on top of that. Because we're going to have to pick up the lid. Okay. Okay, so we now have a present. That's just not very nicely painted. Let's just tuck that in neatly. We'll be able to tighten that up. And I'm going to take some of that green. There we are. And I'm going to darken it a little bit for the hat. Probably don't need all of that. And I want to darken some of that black, the brown for the hooves of my horse. So let me just pop that over there. Pop that over there. Let's just wipe this so that we don't end up splurging that every which way. So let's just take some of that green and a little bit of that black and just let's darken it a little bit. Definitely want black for the boots, but I want a dark green for the hat on both the bear and there we are, and the teddy bear. There we go. Ooh, she's nice. So let's just hold that there. We might need to, we will definitely need to get, there's a clock there, but that can be sorted. There we are. Let's just come underneath there. Just takes time to do these things, doesn't it? But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it nicely. There we are. We are getting there. I promise you, we are definitely getting there. Little bit by little bit. Okay. Sorry about the bing. That was a message coming through as an email, which will promptly be ignored because I don't need a new suitcase even. Yeah, I quite like that. It's definitely not a green anymore, but nor is it black either. So let's just paint our teddy bear's hat. I'm going to bring out the details with some simple waxing for some of these things. So it won't just stay as a dark greeny black blob, I promise you. It will have some details added into it. There we are. Some pieces that are going to get antiqued and some are not, but there we are. Can't. There we are. So, I don't know why I'm worrying about the time because it really, unless people really want to, yeah, they can always watch back on replay if we go over and they've got other more important things to do because such is life. There we are. But in the meantime, I know I've got a very loyal group of people who will watch regardless of how long I take. Now, a certain well-known creative said on a live a few weeks ago that painting resins and wasn't wasn't really creating or teaching on a live. So, is he right? Do you like the fact that I spend quite a lot of time painting resins? Would you prefer that I concentrated more on techniques? I know what Penta asked me to do right at the beginning, and that was very much to work on techniques, on projects, rather than and show how to make something as a complete piece. There we are. Let's dirty that up. That can go there. That can go there. Let's just have a paler nozzle, because we're going to add some black into that. And then let's just pick up that hazelnut and put that into there for the teddy bear. So what do people think? Do you want techniques as part of a project, which is what I always try to do? Greater or lesser success, maybe? Are you happy with the formula that I have at the moment? Feedback always willingly received. Quite happy. Techniques would also be very welcome. Okay. What sort of techniques would you like, Connie? Because trying to do things that work for people is, at the end of the day, hugely important. There's no point in me quite happily sitting in my own world thinking I'm doing a stunning job if it's not what people actually want us to do. If you've got products that you have sitting on the side that you think you've forgotten how to use, or you want some help with, then that's ask away in any of my lives, and I can then see if I can incorporate those products on following lives, because that's also a good thing, isn't it? To be able to work together to produce projects that people will find educational and helpful. Let's just pick up some of that. That's a better colour for the hooves of the horse, I think. There we are. That's good. That's what. There's definitely going to be some full-on technique-based lives around projects, acceptably, but definitely some more technique-based lives from February, because I know what's happening in February. Let's have a little red edge to our saddle. Yeah. You enjoy watching me create. Thank you, Sue. I enjoy creating. I enjoy sharing. I think that if you've learned enough, then it's nice just to be able to pass on information. Let's just add that into there. Well, that made a mess of that, didn't it? Let's just give that a good wipe and sort out the inside of there. That's better. And then let's just add my strap into there in the red. There we are. So that's added some more detail there. Right. Let's see what we can do in here, because we've got a bear. On the top of here. There we are. Well, I think it's difficult, Connie, because I agree. I think you do learn a lot by watching what others do and how they paint and how they age. But I am very conscious that my lives have an awful lot of painting of cut resin pieces. Now, partly that's because as a creator for Penta, we're asked to use Stamperia products because they stock them. So that sort of makes sense, doesn't it, to do that? But it's also, you know, so there we are. Let's just get rid of the red that I've transferred onto there. Cool. And then we're going to give some of this a bit of a blast because in a minute, because I need to add that. And I definitely don't want the tops of those boots to be mucky yucky. So we'll sort those out with some proper white and a clean brush in a minute. That can look like that. Yeah. We are getting there. Not with the antiquing light, but which adds in the details. But the base painting is pretty cool. There we are. Let's just give that boot a finish. That will then need to dry a little bit, but that's fine. And I need to add a bit more brown into there. So whilst that sits and dries a little bit more, there we are. Let's just add in a little bit of pale pink to the pads of that and into the ears. There we are. And then we're going to pick up that red and we're going to have a nice red bow on there. We might give that teddy bear a green bow. We might. There we are. So it's just a question of picking out the detail that's already in the moulds and then just following it, she says. That being easier said than done. There we are. Okay. Let's pick this one up. Whoop, she says, dropping everything. Well, that's even better, isn't it? Let's just give this teddy bear a nice. Once these are dry, but I will add the eyes and the features of on the nose with a black alcohol pen, but not until this is completely dry. Could use a fine Posca pen as well, but again, that needs to be once everything is properly dry, and that's always a bit of a challenge on a live because it needs to be deep down dried rather than just surface dyed. I can still see bits of white in those. There we are. Right, let's give that a good wriggle and then let's just pick up that green and do that bow, and then we're going to give this a good blast and paint that white for the boots, the top of the boots where they're mudded. The beard is already white with lots of details in. There we are. So that doesn't need to be repainted white. She's nice. There we are. There we are. That's someone else going live. Let's just pick up that. before I do anything else, I'm just going to give those boots a good blast dry, because otherwise we will be... I just need to get these dry. There we are. Thank you, Sheila. That's lovely. Thank you for those very kind words. I try, and I do hope that I have friends who will tell me if I'm barking up the wrong tree. I think I've got enough friends, people who know me well enough to know that they can say what they like. Good evening, Sheila. I do hope that all is well in the USA. I know that there's a nasty, nasty fire in California, near Malibu, with lots of people being, under fire watch, which is never a good thing. I pray that all of my American friends stay safe with whatever is going on if they're in that area. I do want to antique these, and in an ideal world I would varnish them all and then antique them, but I'm just going to get this as dry as I can, and then we'll antique. But I'm going to add that white, and then we're going to antique them. I haven't forgotten the base that I didn't do very much with. In fact, we might pop these out off to the side to finish off drying whilst I paint the base, and then we can antique them afterwards. So we are a reasonable way off finishing, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not really, because I'd rather have a nice piece. So let's just pop that over there. We can tackle that. We can tackle that. Let's just get this now so that the boot cuffs are nicely white rather than yucky white. Then this can go sit down, and I will go back to the wood board, because I can see, having looked down a little while ago, that that is dry. There we are. So that is broadly our painting, at least of that stage, done. So let's just have a little clear down, because otherwise we'll end up in a pickle, and that's never good. I can go over there. Let's stand myself up, and let's just pop these off to the side, and horror of horrors, dispose of all of that paint before we have a mess. There we are. But we're then back with a nice clean surface for working on. There we are. There we are. Right, let's just take those out of the way. That will work. That will work. Let's pick up our... She says that she thought was dry. It's dry in some areas and not in others, but that's okay. We will just pop all of these back into place and just give them all the dries that they're needed. So this is still too wet. You can see over here is relatively matte, and over here thicker areas are still very, very shiny. So let me just give these a little bit of a blast. Oh, that's fine. It's just going to give also these pieces a bit better time for drying anyway, which is also a positive. Just need to be careful when you've got a heat gun and you're drying stuff, because the real risk is that you will burn your medium or bubble your mediums if you stay with a heat gun in one place for too long. So just be aware when you're doing this. You do need to be thinking, letting it cool down, coming off and coming back again. to let it go so that you don't bubble your mediums. And the other problem with heat drying like this is that you surface dry, but it remains tacky underneath. And then when you try to, put something over the top, the dampness from underneath seeps through. But it definitely is worth at this stage making sure that this my wonky beginning has properly dried. Let's just move these south a little bit. There you are. Whoops, that's flashed. Hopefully it's behaving. It's quite guaranteed in this world, is it? And how come when you want something to dry quickly, it just doesn't, does it? It just doesn't. Oh, I don't need to do that. Wait, excuse me, it's very inelegant, I know. Okay, it's still a little shiny, but that will do for now. Let's just pop that over there, pop that over there, turn that round. Let's just grab, not that one. Let's take those out the way. So I'm now going to use the creamy white acrylic. There we are. Because it's a softer colour. Loading my palette, my dauber, and I just want a good layer onto here, but I don't want to overwork it. So this is my preferred method. If you use a brush for this layer, it will work perfectly well. You'll get some bigger cracks. This way I'm going to get quite subtle cracks, but that's fine. That's the look I'm happy with. So you do you as to which effect that you really want, because there isn't a right and there isn't a wrong. Don't overwork areas that are drying, because you'll start to lift off your product and it won't look very pretty. So you see that actually I'm using reasonable amounts of that paint in the process, and you think, what? Here we are. Still got quite a lot to add. There we are. And this will give me a very fine crackle, whereas if I used a brush I will get a much thicker crackle, and I will also get a bit of texture from the fact that I'm daubing it on. There we are. And that's a good example of what happens when you go back over areas. You start to lift stuff up that you perhaps didn't want to. So I'm just being very, very careful there. A lot of the bottom of this piece will be covered. There we are. So it's, as I say, this will, if you use a paintbrush, you will definitely get a very different effect to doing this. You get much bigger cracks, and in the direction that you put your top layer down, whereas this ball gives a much subtler selection of cracks and in a much more random way. And we'll see that in a minute. I'll give it a little bit of a blast dry and show it up to the camera. There we are. That will work. So I can see that that's cracking over there. Let me just give this a good blast up in the air. It will crack almost underneath this, as you see it happening. Yeah. I want to get a piece of rice paper onto here before adding my other elements. So I need to get this properly dry. So all you need to do is be patient. I know, that's a virtue, isn't it? There we are. So I'll lift this up and shape, I'll angle it in a minute. So I think we're getting a degree of there, which is unhelpful. Yeah. So if I lift that up, there we are. You can see just how crackled that surface is, but also just how random it is. If I'd used so where it's the paint is thicker, I've got big areas, but very fine crackle here where it's thin, and that's what will happen if you use the brush. Then you get much more crackles going in the direction that you apply that second layer with. So it's all about the effects that you want with the mediums that you've got. Right, I'm going to pop that down to settle and dry just that little bit more solidly before I do that. So let's just grab this little lot. Excellent. And a scruffy brush that's relatively soft. There's my Santa. There we are. So this is just the brown antiquing gel. It'll help age these because the papers that from Gear Up to Christmas that these moulds are and the ephemera are all more vintage than that bright red, and that's fine. There we are. I just need to be careful doing this because that might not be so dry, but it's going to help bring out all of that detail in those moulds, and I can just wipe it in. So bring out some lights and some shades. Into here. There we are. There we are. Adds depth. There we are. Okay. So we're not going for complicated. So the antiquing gels are water-based, which is helpful. I could be using Umbra, and that will give me a slightly different effect. Once the antiquing gels are dried, then they're permanent. So it gives a degree of support. Let me just get some into that cranny there. And that will help with protecting this piece. And you can take off as much or as little as you want just to add, but it will add some shade. There we are. good leveler. This helps. There we are. There we are. Helps bring out the details really nicely. There we are. Let's get that into there. So that's the only bit of the headache with doing things like this, is that you if you want to get into the nooks and the crannies, it gets quite difficult. But it really does add a nice effect to your piece, and as I say, it's a coverer of a multitude of sins in terms of the painting. Because the alternative for this is to paint all of the different layers, the depths of texture in. And I don't know about you, but for me, life is sometimes just too short to do that. There we are. Oh, we'll get rid of my mucky hands in a minute, and then you might be able to see a bit better about what's going on. One of the things about wiping off is that if you carry on wiping with a dirty cloth, all that happens is that you wipe back on stuff from your dirty hands. There we are. So let's just swap to another cleaner wipe for the next ones. There we are. Good evening, Elizabeth. Welcome, my darling. There we are. It's important when you're doing this that you do cover everything, because anything that's not, you never want that you haven't covered will then stand out like an absolute sore thumb. You wipe off quite a lot of it, but never all of it. There we are. I'm just popping it into some of the nooks and the crevices to take off as well, but it really does help details in your pieces by doing that. Yeah. So hopefully we've learned a little bit about the one component crackle, a little bit about the antiquing gel. It's designed to sit in the nooks and the crannies. It just builds depth to your painting without you needing to spend forever doing it. Right. And everything always ends up slightly darker, so just be aware of that. So if you're wanting something to be relatively pale when you're working, then you need to be a very pale surface for dealing with that. There we are. Right. Excellent. So let's take off here. Right. Let us return our newspaper. So it now looks a bit more vintage. You can now see the details in there. Let's clean off as much as we can from our beard. There we are. we are. There we are. So our white is now much better, nearer white. Hi Jenny, welcome. There we are. Excellent. Let's pop that onto there, pop that into there. That can go there. Let's clean that up. Let's just take a little bit of that gold, the gold wax, and add that just subtly onto the hat. There. And onto the hat of there. I'm not going to add it every which way. I can see some more brown that I want to take off there. Fortunately, it's still wet, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be able to take it off so easily. There we are. Cool. Let's just add some bits of red detailing onto our suitcases, just in a simple way. There we are. This really does help build the details. Here we are. We'll have a little bit on there. Let's just add a little bit onto our teddies. Right, there we are. Add a little bit on there. Right. And there we are. Onto our rocking horse. There we are. So we're just adding back. So we've base coated, then we've added the depth in with the antiquing gel. Remember, that could have been Umbra Patina for the dark colour, and I used the brown antiquing gel. And then we've highlighted with the wax. So we've added lots of detail back in by adding it in the layers as we've done so. There we are. Yeah. Right, eeny meeny, let's just clear that. Let's just pop those all over there. And let's just de-yuck the fingers because they're filthy, and that's never a good look. There we are. Right. Sorry, but I can't cope with that brown on there. That really does now need to come properly off. Otherwise, it's going to look awful when we do the rest of it. Well, it's not going to come properly off, is it? We're just going to get off what we can get off, because that's all there is to it. There we are. I've got most of it off, I think. It's getting there. Right, we'll leave the mess. And pick up our board. Good. Right. Meeny, meeny, miny. Now, horror of horrors, you're going to see me do something that you don't very often see me do. But only one part of this, and I'm not mithered about the straight edges for what I'm doing. So I'm just going to cut out this piece of rice paper. Because I just want parts of it to be on display, not all of it. And if I do, so that's excellent. So we're just going to pop that onto there. That straight edge isn't going to be visible by the time I have finished. There we are. Cool. And because I'm not worried about that straight edge being there, I've cut it deliberately as if it is a proper letter, because that seems to me to make sense. we'll give this a coat. This is a matte varnish over, just to stabilise and protect that crackle. But at the same time, I can pop my rice paper down onto there. There we are. And then we can start building our composition. So, as always, I've started with a plan, which involves a base with base painting, my focal pieces being resin, and then the rest of them the detail from ephemera and rice papers. So let's just line that up onto there. Let's line it up against that meant to be there. It's when you find that the rice paper wasn't square in the first place, but hey ho, there we are. Let's just pop that onto there. And let's just leave this there over the top, and then we'll give it a little bit of a blast dry. So we're just adding, layering detail, because that's to me what mixed media means. It's not about, it is very much about adding your layers, building a composition, adding your techniques. There we are. Right, that can go there. Where did I put the lid? That's where I put the lid. That's always helpful, isn't it? Let's just give this a little bit of a blast. Certainly down at the bottom. We need a bit of a blast. Won't take that long to get that dry. And then we can start building our composition shortly. I'll try doing it too quickly. When that rice paper is still wet, it won't work. Well, it would work, but I'll make a mess of it, and I don't want to do that. Okay. Okay, for the moment, there we are. So my plan, let's just move these over, is for Santa to sit there, but Santa needs some extra pieces. So let's get rid of that. We're going to pop a little parcel underneath there. So let's get rid of that. These are ephemera, so they are come on a sticky backing. I'm not going to edge them because I've got white on the piece anyway, so it's not going to jar too badly. So we're going to tuck a parcel under there, and Santa is going to sit there. We're going to have our parcels there. So let's just get rid of the sticky backing. Yeah. There we are. So there we are. Okay. Then we have some other pieces. So we're going to pop Mr. Santa, going to pop that onto there, I think, and that onto there. So that's going to need to be propped, but that's fine. And I want to add some extra pieces here. The 2 and the 5 will go here. We've got season's greetings to go there. So let's just take that and pop this one on. Picking off the backing of these. You could use an archival ink to edge these, and sometimes I do, but because I'm putting it onto a pale background, it's not actually a problem today. But if I was putting these onto a darker background, I would absolutely be popping that onto, yeah, those edging those more than I'm doing now. So these all come from the ephemera pack that comes from here up to Christmas. So that's cool. Make sure I haven't got a bigger one of those. You can see I've got all sorts of bits and pieces here. There we are. So that's going to sit onto there as a bell. And we're going to pop that there so that that links that sentiment to the background piece of rice paper. Yeah, does that make sense? You can see where, because that paint is not completely dry, and we're getting a bit of a pickle up there, but that's fine. I will tap over that again in a minute with a little bit more paint, but I will have to be incredibly cautious because it's wet and not dried all the way through. There we are. Where I've touched the edges, there we are. Pop that there. Right, eeny, meeny, miny. So let us squash that down there. And then we need to cover and build some of these areas. So let us, we've got Merry Christmas. Right. And I know that I haven't stuck some of these down, and that's just fine. So that can go onto there. Merry Christmas can sit into there. Let us grab some gel medium. And a little bit of that. And then let's just add some of that into there. We haven't cast it particularly well, so we'll add a goodly amount. But that's my bad, nothing else. So that's there. And let's just stick some of these other pieces in along the way. It's always a little bit of, so let's just add, tucked from behind Santa's chair. That can go into there. Got another couple of parcels. Let's just add these in. Want this to be lifted up a little bit. Let me see what we've got that's conveniently to pack. There we are. There is a chunk of MDF. There we are. There we are. That's going to help support my bear, which is why I wanted that piece on the MDF. So he can go sitting slightly there and there. Eeny, meeny, miny. Where's that other piece? There we are. Let's just take this. There. The ephemera is a pain. It's a very useful pain but it's definitely a nuisance when it comes to taking stuff in and out. So that one can go underneath there. So I've got my pieces. Right, let us start into here so you can see where we're going. So let's just take a little layer of my matte gel medium. It's my preference. The glossy will work and it will dry completely clear, but it will be shiny. So you pay your money, it takes your choice. There we are. So he can go sitting on there. I have my rocking horse, which I'm going to shuffle him in a little bit and pop the rocking horse on there, which means I'm just going to wipe off that excess that I've popped there as I've moved it, because if I don't, it will show. Yeah. So that's going to sit on there, so as if it's in front of his chair. We've got ho ho ho, so we can add in that. Ho 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 seems. And I couldn't do this if I didn't have the gel medium base underneath there, because if I used an ordinary glue to glue that in, then it would be stuck permanently. So let's just pop that into there. I'm going to deliberately have these offset, because if you can't get them exactly even, it will irritate you. Whereas if you deliberately offset them, it won't worry you. That way up, or we think, or that way up, that way up. So that can go up to the top of there. And then I have some little stars. I think I'm not going to put the mouse that comes in the set up, but I am going to pop some of these stars in place because I rather like them. So that can go there. Are they stars or gingerbread? I don't know. I'm going to pop that over there. We've got a reasonable number of them, so that's okay. At least have those straight. I'll have that there. Let's just add these. We are nearly finished, ladies, I promise you. There we are. We're going to pop that one over there. And all I'm doing here is linking these elements so that this is no longer an orphan. It looks like it's attached. We associate visually the 2 and the 5 together anyway, so that won't be a problem. But where's that thin paintbrush? But that's why I've done that. I'm just linking all of my layers. Let's just correct that bit that I've managed to, because it's not fully set. I really would recommend that you just wait patiently until your layers have fully dried before you start adding extra pieces, because it's just easier to do that. Okay. And we could add some depths and some shadows into some of these if we wanted, but I'm actually quite happy to have these without depth and shadow. There we are. There is a little bell, but I'm going to leave off, I think, because I don't like it, and I will put that piece of holly in because I think it will work quite nicely into here. Tucking it in and under. There we are. Okay, so here we are, ladies. We have Santa's Grotto. So we've taken a wooden piece, wooden block. Yeah, I can tidy up the edges. I shall wait for that to dry clearly before lifting it up. I'm causing myself problems, but hey ho, there we are. We've got lots of resin elements, lots of ephemera, a little bit of rice paper. We've layered it all together to create our Santa's Grotto. So have a look in your bargain shop, see what they've got around. I've got another one of these, so let me just pop that in. Actually, we're just going to stick it off, and there we are. That's going to be irritating, isn't it? But hey ho. There we are. And I just need to let this dry properly before I fiddle any further. There we are. So, here we are. I tip it back up. We've got our parcels, we've got our presents, we've got our teddy bears, we've got our lovely Father Christmas, we've got our rocking horse, and I think that makes for a lovely, lovely home decor wall piece. So I hope that that's been an enjoyable live for you. Hopefully you've learned a little bit along the way, or simply just enjoyed the process. I will be live for Pentart next week. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do, but I will have done by the end of the week. And then my live for Pentart after that will then be the 7th of December, 7th of January, as Pentart will have a Christmas factory break, much needed for their staff, because they have a huge, they've been doing some sterling work behind the scenes, developing some fabulous new products that I'm not allowed to share any more details with, but which will be launched at some point fairly soon, I think. So, good night for now, ladies. Stay safe, look after each other, be kind, and hopefully I will see some of you on Crafting Together with All Brands on Friday at 7 and on my own page at 3. In the meantime, please be safe, enjoy your Christmas preparations. If you're lonely or sad and just need someone to talk to, my messenger is open to you. Please don't sit feeling down and feeling that no one loves you. Reach out and I will be more than happy to chat. So for now, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.